The basic function that we learn about is linear function, and linear function is just a straight line. And this question talks about linear function. This question is about the fact that there was a football match, that there were 30,000 people on the game, and then when the game finished, people started leaving the stadium. And that kind of makes sense. And what we had was a graph of this function. And we had here P represented how many people were still in the stadium, not how many people left, but how many were still there. And T is the number of minutes after the end of the game. So when the game just finished, zero time, no time has passed, there were all 30,000 people there. And then as time was going, the number of people started going down. Okay, so let's see what we need to do. The equation of the graph can be written as, and here we have equation of the graph. Now, linear equation, as we know, we normally, when we are introduced to that, we talk about x and we talk about y. Now, we know at this stage that not necessarily x have to be x and y has to be called y, can be different letters, is what we have here. But if I was to replace that, my function will look like y equal 30,000 minus 1,500x. Now, we have to approach every function in the context of x and y. Doesn't matter what letters they are. We understand that this is the most basic, that's how we look at it. So let's see what we need to do. How many people were in the stadium 12 minutes after the match has finished? All your question about the function will be about that x and y value. Basically, they can ask you what is the value of x, and they will give you value of y, or they will say, when we have this value of x, what is the value of y? However, they're not going to say it straight as that. They're going to say in the context of the question. So in this question, x is what? Number of minutes, isn't it? That's my x. And y is what? Number of people, isn't it, that are still in the stadium. So in this case, if they want to ask you about the x, they will say, well, how many minutes after the game we had so many people, or the other way around. They will say, well, how many people were there so many minutes after the game was over? And that's what we have here. How many people means we are looking for value of y, and therefore they are telling us the value of x 12 minutes after. Yeah. So if we always kind of recognize the game, that's the way it is, it's easier for us to do that. Doesn't matter what details, doesn't matter whatever letter they want to call it, doesn't matter. We know it's about those two things. So that means that we replace our t, which represent number of minutes, with how many minutes. So that means 30,000 minus 1,500 multiply by 12. And we put that in the calculator, we press equal, and we get 12,000. So that means when 12 minutes have gone, then I have 12,000 people. Okay? Now, next part. So we have to explain what 1,500 in this equation means in terms of the number of people in the stadium. So what is that 1,500? Now, let's have a look at our coordinate geometry, because that's where function exists. That's the universe of coordinate geometry. So here you have equation of a line. Now here you have the two formulas. The way our equation look like, it look like that second formula, y equal mx plus c. So let me write that. Y equal mx plus c. Now what I have is P equal 30,000 minus 1,500t. You can say, well, it doesn't look like that. Well, it actually does. So we at this stage decipher that P is like Y and X here is T. Now, it doesn't matter the order here, okay? whether we write c plus mx or mx plus c is the same thing. The point is that this number here that stand beside x, so our 1500, that is m, and m is the slope. As you can see it here, m is the slope. So really what that means, that 1000 minus 1500 is the slope of this linear function. Now, just to draw your attention to it, now this is the knowledge that you need to know. But that is true only and only if there is no number beside y. In this case, it's true there is no number beside p. So yes, a number that stands beside x is the slope. So what does that mean in the terms of the people in the stadium? Now, I'm going to just put here kind of like, how will I say, like a phrase, like a sentence that always work for the interpretation of the slope. Okay, so let's see. So this is kind of a phrase that work all the time for the interpretation of the slope. For every increase of 1, and here we are putting a unit in the context of the question, what is represented on the x-axis. So in this case here. So for every increase of what? T means here the number of minutes. So for every increase of 1 minute after the game finished, and now here we have a choice depending on the value of the slope. Our slope is negative, so we're going to say we decrease. And now we are saying what we are decreasing. And here we are referring to the y-axis. And here the y-axis are represented by what? Number of people in the stadium. So we decrease number of people left in stadium by, and here we are putting something that's called absolute value of the slope. Basically what that means, we put in always the positive value of the slope by 1500. Doesn't matter, it's negative, we always put a positive value, yeah? So what does that 1500 means? For every increase of 1 minute after the game finish, we decrease number of people left in the stadium by 1500. Yeah, so we are always talking, when it comes to slope, we are saying for every increase of 1 unit here, we decrease, so or increase depending the value of the slope, and then we are talking about the x-axis, about y-axis, yeah? So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's difficult to interpret the slope, so that's the reason why I came up with kind of a sentence that works every time for the interpretation of the slope. I hope that helps you.